Gateway Gamers podcast.
Hello and happy holidays from the Gateway Gamers. My name is Bryan Marvel, once again bringing you my now yearly tradition of introducing my favorite stocking stuffer type games. These are honestly some of my favorite type of games, these smaller box games. They're not games that RP and I usually get to cover. We try to cover bigger games, but I love these little games that don't have a big table presence, but can have a lot of fun playing with a small deck of cards or whatever. Just small things that kind of in the box. They could create a big impact with such a little table space. So I'm going to start off today with Christmas Movie Magic, which is very apropos for the season. Christmas Movie Magic is a simple, super simple card game where you have a deck of 75 cards, and each card has a different holiday trope in a movie or television show. So what you're doing is you're drawing 3 cards and you're watching your favorite movie, whether it be something you watch yearly, like I watch Muppet Christmas Carol, or if you're watching the big hot movie of the winter, Hot Frosty or whatever, that Netflix sexy snowman movie that's out this year, or you're just watching some other schlocky Hallmark movie. This is a perfect game for that. So what you're doing is you have your 3 cards in your hand, and they have the different tropes. So it'll be someone with a white beard on, someone cooking, an angel, elf, hot coffee, candy, and you're looking for these objects in the movie or the TV show that you're watching. And then once you kind of spot it, you throw your card down in your point pile, and that stays there. You draw another card. You always have 3 cards in your hand. What makes the game interesting and kind of chaotic is if you have a card in your hand that you don't think is going to be featured in the movie, or you don't think you're going to be able to score points on, because depending on how rare the item in the movie is, it's points from like 1 to 5. So if you have something in your hand that's worth 5 points, but you don't think you're going to be able to spot in the movie, you could throw it on a table, and that leaves it open for everyone to kind of spot. So you can have a nice pool in the middle of where you're playing of cards that you've kind of thrown down, and they could be stolen by other players at any point if they see what is in the pool as you're watching a movie. And that's kind of it. It goes until the movie ends or TV shows ends or whatever you're watching. So it just adds an extra element to a movie that you already know and love, and you could kind of have fun and goof around and play the game as you're going. The point system for the game to win is basically, like I said, each card has a number on them. So depending on how easy it is, so like a 1 point is a stocking, because if you're watching a holiday movie, it's going to have a stocking in it. Nutcrackers are low points. A Christmas tree is 1 point. And then if you're looking for something a little higher, you have a calendar with a date on it is a 3-point card. Pajamas are 3-point cards. Ice skates are 5 points. So depending on how rare the trope is, or like how uncommon it is, and how many points you get. And then you also get bonus points for creating suits. So each card also has like a symbol, like a reindeer tree, a Santa, president, or gingerbread man. If you have the most of that symbol, you get an additional 5 points. And that's kind of it. It's really simple, but it's really like interesting to just kind of goof around while you're watching a movie. Like I said, played it watching Muppet Christmas Carol. I played it watching Elf, and it just adds a little layer to those movies now when you're kind of watching them, because they're those yearly evergreen movies you're kind of watching. You're just like, okay, this is the movie. But when you are looking for something specific, you're more in tune to the movie and really watching it. So that's a Christmas Movie Magic from Fink and Fink. It was a Kickstarter project that got backed from a small company, so it's a great company to support. I think it's on Amazon. It might be like $10 or $15. It's definitely a fun kind of card game to have for the holiday, and it fits perfect in a stocking. As I said, it's just a small box with 75 cards, so it's perfect stocking size. Moving on from cozy movies, I'm moving towards maybe a cozy fireplace action with my next game, Tinder Blocks. So Tinder Blocks is from Alley Cat Games. This has been a game I have heard other people talk about. It's a game that people kind of really love. It's a little dexterity game, comes in a little tin. The theme of the game is you're creating a fire. So you're creating like a campfire, or you can create a cozy, warm fireplace fire, if you imagine. And all you're doing is you're drawing cards, And then inside the tin is just filled with rectangle brown pieces that represent logs, and then little yellow and red cubes that represent fire or kindling. So you draw a card and it'll tell you very specifically what pieces and where they're stacked, and then you have to stack them onto the pile that you're creating. It sounds super simple, but the tweezers that you have to use are extremely like fiddly. They're tiny. And then some of the cards will have you using your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you use the left hand. If you're left-handed, you use the right hand. And you're just kind of stacking these pieces according to the cards, and then you have to use these little fiddly tweezers to move onto the already built like tower kindling without knocking it down. Absurdly simple, but again, like it's a perfect little size game that you could bring in your purse. You could bring in your pocket. Actually, it's smaller than a cell phone, not as thin, but smaller in size than a cell phone, so it can easily fit in your pocket. There is I don't know if it's expansion or it's just like a newer edition that adds water element, like rain, where in the pile of cards you're drawing, there is also like rain cards that come out, and the more rain cards that you draw, you're adding more of these translucent cubes anywhere onto your kindling and fire, so it just creates more of a stack. And then as the more cards you draw, the more cubes you're amounting as if the rain is approaching. And I think if you draw the last one, the game's over. But just a neat another little element to the game. It's super quick. It could go 5 minutes because someone's going to knock it over because the tweezers are so fiddly. But Tinder Blocks from Alley Cat Games, again, is a cheap price point, maybe $10-15 for what you're getting. It's really well done and very simple. Easy to explain, easy to play, easy to kind of bring anywhere, and fits in stocking very easily. Moving on from one Tiny Tin game to another, I have Swear Mints from Cheer Up Games. Swear Mints, I think I've talked about before in another stocking episode or a small game segment. And if I have, I apologize, but I also don't apologize because this game is fantastic. It's just a Altoid shaped little tin filled with just little translucent cubes that represent gum. And what you're doing is you're choosing one player to be the judge, the mint master as it's called. And then you're giving each player these tiny little cards, and on each card has 8 words. There's 4 on one side and 4 on the other. And all you're having the other players do is to create slang. They're creating different slang words, so it'll just be I have the spicy edition in front of me, which has some more adult humor, but it's just as good. It'll be like the one is bottom and then sucker. So I just put bottom sucker together. And then you have to create a definition for this word that you create and present it to the judge. And you also get bonus points if you're chosen. So if the mint master likes your definition or thinks you have the best combination of words or the funniest, you'll get awarded one of the little mint cubes. You get bonus if you use alliteration. So if you used, I think examples like rump ride, so 2 words that have the same letter. And then you also get a bonus mint if your word rhymes. So if you booty nudie, and then you're also able to present the best definition, you would get the amount of mints. This is kind of just played until I forget how many exactly the instructions say, but you just kind of play until you're done. Or, I mean, I've played this game where you just keep going and you just play until you're kind of done or your food comes, because this is a great transport game. Like I said, it's shaped like an Altoids tin, so it fits right in your pocket, fits great in a stocking. Again, low price point. I don't have the exact price in front of me, but it can't be any more than $15-20. Probably available on Amazon, cheerupgames.com. Yeah, it's just a great little word fun game. They do have, as I said, the spicy, not safe for work edition, and then they also have a normal edition if you could play with kids and kind of have fun as a family. But that's Swear Mints from Cheer Up Games, another fantastic tiny transport game that hits the table a lot. If you listen to our last episode, we talked about PAX and our visit at PAX. One of the bigger games at PAX that I kind of saw and people raving about was Things and Rings from All Play. I absolutely love All Play and most of their productions. So as I kind of saw this people talking about it was one I had to check out. And Things and Rings artistic vibe grabs me because it looks like Dr. Seuss. Like it's clearly heavily inspired by Dr. Seuss. And all you're doing in this game is creating Venn diagrams. You are looking for how things connect or don't connect. Venn diagram, if you don't know, is the idea of like creating circles. So it's like in the game, you get red string, yellow string, blue string. So you're creating three giant strings that have a physical attribute, a word attribute if they rhyme, or like context. So you're drawing cards, and the different cards are pictures. It's all pictures of things. So it's like a banana, a brick, a moose, an axe, a basketball. And then the context of the rings is like 5 or fewer letters long. Most people have touched it. Most people find it useful. It can be dangerous. And all you're doing is taking these cards and creating Venn diagrams of how they connect. So it'll be like you could find it at a wedding or is cold. And then you can have the attribute. So the attribute is it's cold. So that's the blue ring. And then the context is you can find it at a wedding. So if you had a penguin, it would fit in the blue cold circle, but not you could find it at a wedding because normally you wouldn't find penguins at a wedding. And then an example of both would be ice. You can find ice at a wedding if you're having drinks and cocktails, but it's also cold, so it's something that kind of goes in the middle. And then uh, the context for you could find at a wedding would be church. You have a card with a church on it. You could find it at a wedding, but it's not necessarily always cold, and so it's not going to go in between. It's just for that context. So that's kind of it. Like it's just it could be a co-op game, it could be a solo game. This is a game that I've actually brought to my classroom and have played with the kids, and I played like the most basic version where I'm like, is this cold and is this whatever? And it's just a great way to create attributes and explain how things are like. But it's also just a fun game for kind of people to play. This is a great beer and pretzels kind of sitting around the table, just goofing around, creating different Venn diagrams, and just kind of it's not a race. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like a fun activity, but it's also a game because there's different ways to play. You want to get rid of all your cards, and if you can't, you draw a card and then just add to the pile. That's it. I don't know. I played it more just kind of goofing around than as like a competitive game. Like I said, my students enjoy it, and it's a great way to kind of teach context of things and physical attributes of things. And it's a small enough box that'll fit in a stocking for sure. So that's things in rings from All Play. Again, it has I think $20 I got it for 19.99, so small price point and just a great game and activity for families and adults as well. My next game is probably my weirder one because of the theme, but I'll say my students absolutely adore it, even if it's something game wise I don't love, but it works for kids. So the more immature will probably love this. It's called Don't Clog It from Hat Acrobat Games, and Don't Clog It is just as you would assume. Don't clog the toilet because this game is all about poop. Um, if you've ever played Sky Joe, it's pretty much just like that. It's Sky Joe or the card game Golf. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a grid of 9 cards in front of you face down. So 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, 3 at the bottom. And then there's a deck in the middle, and then there's a discard pile. So what you're doing is you're drawing the top card from the deck, and you're replacing one of your face down cards. And the goal is to have the lowest number in front of you, because the higher the number, the more clogged the toilet is. Yes, this is an actual theme. So it's super simple. The artwork is fine. It's cute little poops. It's cute little farts. it's again, my students really enjoy this game, and it's hard to deny that it. I mean, farts are funny. Like it's even as an adult, like in a movie, if someone farts, you're gonna be laughing. Um, but that's kind of it. Like it's very simple in that fact. There's a few power cards that you can draw, like Peekapoo, where you can look at three of the face down cards that you have, so you can have an idea of the lower numbers versus higher numbers. The Poop Fairy swaps any card in your grid with any card in opponent's grid. The Golden Plunger removes points from your total. Again, you want to have the lowest points. And then Loggy the Cloggy adds to your opponents. So there's, again, little funny, cutesy artwork with little fun little powers that the kids enjoy. It goes multiple rounds until someone hits 100, I think. I don't even remember exactly. We just kind of play until we're. This is not one of those games where you're just like, okay, I play until my students are like ready to move on or we have to move on to something else. But it's multiple rounds. After the first round, you have to wear these goofy poop glasses, and that gives you extra powers that you can look at the top two cards from the draw deck, and it just gives you variable powers to kind of do since you lost a round, just so you can kind of catch up. Again, my students absolutely love this, so I know most kids would. It's it's not a super creative card game because it's basically just Sky-Ho, but the theme is kind of there, if not a bit tacked on. But it's there. It works for what it is. I don't think I could get my students to play Sky Joe straight without it being this theme. So for what it is, it's very effective. So that's Don't Clog It from Hat Acrobat Games. And that's kind of it. Like I said, it just quick little games that I really enjoy that don't get enough shine that I want to highlight. I love smaller games that just you could travel with when RP and I will go out on a game day, or sometimes when we're not hanging out doing games, we'll go out to the different breweries and pubs, and these are the type of games that I'll still bring just to kind of have while we're waiting for things or just waiting for other people to arrive, just to kind of you still get to talk, but just to keep the things moving. So I love these type of games, these smaller games that we don't get to highlight a lot. Um, but those are some games that I recommend. They fit in stockings. There's low price points. They're fantastic publishers. So definitely check them out and show the smaller games some love. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Be sure if you like what you hear to follow our Instagram because you'll like what you see. We highlight every game and games we have a highlight as well on the podcast on our Instagram, Gateway Gamers Podcast. And thank you so much and have a happy and safe holiday. Until next time, bye-bye.